Welcome back to Moto Photo Adventures, everybody. My name is Chris, and today we have a very special treat for you. We are touring the amazing Sargent, what do you call it? Is it Sargent?
Sargent Cycle Products.
Cycle Products. I used to call it Sargent Seats, but they've gone through several different names. And this is our new best friend, Mary.
How you doing? When I started here, all the operations, manufacturing, foam, build, shipping, receiving, everything. About 2016, we bought a building where the R&D building is. We bought a building over there. We connected the two buildings with the main warehouse, which we'll see when we pass through later on. And became all one big building. So it's been a work in progress. We've gone through a lot of expansion, and we're pretty close to outgrowing this place now.
And
so
it is Mark running it now, is that correct? Or?
Mark Todd runs this. His brother runs the automotive
side.
Yeah,
okay.
So they're two separate entities.
Gotcha. Very cool. And was it their dad that founded the company?
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure exactly if he founded it. I think he purchased a business and then created Sargent.
That's right.
And and that's been back in the 50s, I believe.
Yeah, because I think the original concept for the idea was but it was before it became Sargent Cycles. It was car upholstery.
Yeah. They started off with automotive. They do boat. They do a lot of city work for police cars and fire trucks and stuff.
Gotcha.
But they do boats, cars, trucks, you name it.
But all we care about is the beautiful motorcycle seats. I mean, these things are like a work of art. It's unbelievable.
Well, Mark started off with like a cover replacement out of over next door, and spun off into what they call premium foam upgrades, and then he went from premium foam upgrades to full-blown replacement seats. Okay.
Tell me a little bit. You mentioned the different features, but I was checking out like this central pressure. I've heard a lot of good things about that sort of thing, especially with us
gentlemen,
men of an older generation. But kind of give us the layout of the technology behind the seats.
Okay. Of course, we got the foam, and that's our supercell atomic foam. We got an insert foam, which is kind of a cushion, an extra cushion layer in the seating area. If you get the heated seat, the heat pad adheres to that. Okay. And this was something they developed later that was basically specifically for men, and to give them a little extra clearance in that area. Absolutely. The best I can say. The upholstery pulls used to be a string disc combination, and they went with the Aplex so that we actually embed the one side of the upholstery pull in the foam during the foam pour, and we adhere the other side of it to the upholstery so that when we get complex shapes like this dishing action, the upholstery doesn't float over the seat. It actually shapes to the seat. And as you know, with the OEM seats, one of the biggest problems is they're convex, and which is you're concentrating all your weight in one spot. So we start dishing them out, and we level them as best we can with what we have, because each motorcycle brand and model is different. You're working with the seat pan, so you can't. Well, we're working with the geometry of the seat and the bike, because some of the sport bikes, like the really small seats, there's not a lot of foam to work with in those to begin with. Plus, we got to contend with ground reach, and we kind of try to take the average behind, because we can't accommodate little tiny behinds and great big behinds. So you got to kind of run an average. So but for the most part, the seats have been really successful. That's part of why we're here. Is I'm super excited because I have an Aprilia Touareg 660. You guys don't make one yet. Nobody makes an aftermarket seat for it yet because it's a new product and it's not a very high demand like Hondas and Yamahas. They sell so many motorcycles. But I'm excited that you guys are bringing one to the market. Yeah, the mold's in manufacture now. We should be seeing it in a couple of months. I'm not sure exactly when it'll get here. Once it gets here, then we assemble the mold, and I'll show you some of that when what I mean by assemble. And there's a lot of people think we're just going and pulling it off the shelf. No, we have to go through foam shaping, then we have to put it in CAD, we have to build the mold. We send the mold out to be manufactured. It comes, the two halves come here. We assemble the box. Then they got to blow foams, set the density to make sure the density's right. Then we got to put it on a pan, design the upholstery, take the photographs to the website. So there's a lot to it.
Right.
You know, people don't realize you can't just say, here's a seat. You know,
Right.
there's a lot of steps that we got to go through.
Absolutely.
And an argument with your demand on the Aprilia, it's one of the highest
Requested?
requested that I have seen.
Wow.
So it must be doing good.
Well, either that or the original seat is not that great.
That too.
So a lot of people are really looking for a solution because the original one is.
Every year when the new bikes are released, I start folders. So I keep an eye on that kind of stuff. Me knowing what we should develop and what Mark would want to develop. There's a lot that's involved in it.
It's a testament to your customer service, and that was something that impressed me when I first reached out. You know, you were immediate, you know, responding, very responsive, answered questions, helped me out a great deal. So, and then when I was like, hey, can we stop by? We're going to go do the Florida Adventure Trail. Can we stop in? You were like, yeah, come on.
Come on in.
So you're going to take us on a tour.
Yes, sir.
You are awesome. I love this.
All right.
Here at Moto Photo Adventures, we do a lot of big trips. Some of them are really, really, really far away. But you know who's not far away? Rick Stewart of semotolawyer.com. That's right, if you ever find yourself in trouble on a motorcycle and you need some help, just call Rick Stewart at semotolawyer.com. He's always nearby.
These are seamstresses. This is the evolution of this area has changed so much from the beginning, because like I said in the beginning, our entire operation that you're going to see right now came out of this building.
Oh, wow.
And you can see all the walls.
Yeah. It was a lot smaller back then.
It was way smaller. And actually, the seamstresses used to cut each one of the patterns by hand.
Wow.
Until we got this table right here.
Okay.
We got this table in about 2016.
And that's like
when
laser cutting it somehow?
No, it's basically like a pizza blade, and it is CNC. I program the programs for that.
Gotcha.
And they just roll it out, and they can lay out however many the seats that they want out of that particular material, because there's multiple materials on a seat. They might cut 12 seats out of the CFX, and then they got to go back and cut the K15 parts out, and but they cut a lot of other stuff on there too.
I'll tell you what, looks like you got to have really good eyesight and really nimble fingers.
I tell you what, these people are skilled. I mean, they can do a double stitch with a single needle, and just amazing. They do have a double stitch machine that they use, but sometimes when they get hard pressed for a particular run, then they'll single stitch it.
Huh.
Yeah, and this cutting table is pretty amazing, because we don't even run it all the time. It cuts patterns so fast. We don't even cut with it maybe 4 hours when they use it, and it might be once every other day or every couple of days.
That's cool.
But it's really, really, really sped up production.
That's great.
Because these are all the finished patterns. And these are the parts. They've got the shelves set up. So each one of those bin locations have the materials for whatever seats that they're looking to build.
Right.
So those seamstresses can come over and pull an entire stack and then run a whole run of a certain
layer 1, layer 2,
and
layer
then the
3,
finished patterns are over there. But we'll get into that a little more deep.
That's cool.
We have two different kinds of pans. We have injection mold and vacuum form. And the differences between them is the complexity of the pan. If the pan has a straight draft, we can do vacuum form.
Okay.
And these are the molds that we vacuum form. And
so this is the mold that will later be filled with foam to get the shape.
we actually lay the foams on them. And I'll show you what I mean here. So yeah, they'll vacuum form the pans, they trim them up in the back, and then they'll add all the hardware. And then the more complex injection mold pans, we actually outsource them because we don't have an injection facility here.
Okay.
Which is hopefully down the road. This is our foam room, and he's going in batches because, like I said, he's doing a lot of work with rearranging, so they run batches. But these is what our end foam molds look like. And if you look at that one sitting on the table over there,
Oh yeah, with the blue.
yeah, that's kind of what comes out of there, out of one of the foams. It comes out like that, and then that will be set on the pan, and then upholstered after that.
Oh, I got
So, but they blast these, lock them closed, and they shoot them. You know, if you can see the way the arm's set up, they shoot them and close it, lock it, move to the next one, change a program, because each one's got their own program. And some programs can be used on different, you know, multiple molds, but that depends on the density.
And it looks like there's some retaining spikes of some sort in there. Is that what those are?
That's for that foam insert and the heat pad.
Oh, okay.
So the foam insert, the comfort insert, sits on those because it's got to hold it up off the surface of the foam.
Yeah.
And the heat pad ends up being embedded at the same depth. So you got about a 1/2 inch of blown foam on top of the heat pad. So you get a little bit of cushion there. And so those are relatively new. We've done those for probably about 8 years, I guess, like that.
You never realize how complex it is in there, especially when you're getting the electric.
Okay, this is where we got to down the camera.
Research and development.
Yes, sir.
For this portion, we got to put the camera down on the floor. This is the research and development department. No photography allowed. Oh, we got a spider.
Yeah, this is our first one, 3-wheeler.
Very nice. Okay.
Kevin, he's working on the Can-Am right now.
Nice.
He's our senior drafter. He's been here way longer than me.
That's awesome.
But he's an excellent photographer, excellent drafter.
Nice.
He's got a mind that's way above mine when it comes to figuring stuff out. But our projects over here is the stuff that we're working on or getting ready to work on.
Oh, I see.
This is what I call project boxes.
Sure.
These are the things that we're currently either already working on, like the Ducati Scrambler is going to be coming out probably later on in a month or so. We have everything here, but we got the molds here. So they're doing test shots for the molds. They're doing test pulls for the pan because that's going to be a vacuum form pan. But we still have upholstery to go through. We have to test fit on the bikes.
BMW 1300 GS, KTM 1290, Suzuki.
The GSX 1000 GT. We got the Transalp that we're probably going to do a Rev for, and a Rev being a Revolution, that's a replacement foam rather than doing the whole pan.
Yep.
So they send us their seat, we strip it, put the new.
And that's what you're going to do for the Aprilia, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Quicker turnaround for the customer, and
you don't have to source the seat pan.
Right, and the hardware, and there's a ton involved in a lot of people don't know about that either, is that when we do the pans and we make the alterations to accommodate our hardware, and sometimes we can and sometimes we can't, and if we can't, we have to source the hardware or have it made. Right. So there's a lot involved in it. It's not just going and picking parts off the shelf.
Sure. And
where the revs with the pans, we don't have to do that.
Right.
With the revs, they just send us our seat, and it's a 48-hour turnaround.
That's called. Yeah.
And so they get it here, they strip it, they put the foam and the cover on it, put it together,
send it back.
Yeah, it just boom, boom, bang.
So since we are doing the research and development department, is there any word out on Husqvarna Norden 901s?
Okay, I do have a folder on that one, but I only got 2 requests for it.
You got 3 now.
Email me.
All right, camera down. Camera down. This is the warehouse?
This room here, as you can see, just looks funny because all of our foams are being moved to the main warehouse, and they've got other plans for this room. We had a bunch of our hardware here. They've already moved.
But that's still amazing. Look at the shelves.
Yeah.
Full of different
Now see, this is the Pan America front.
Oh, that's a lot lighter than I thought it would be. Oh, but man, it's beautiful though. That is super nice. Oh, yeah. Wait a minute.
Heat.
Is this a heated seat? Whoa. You can't even tell.
Yeah, remember the picture up front in the showroom?
Those little electrodes?
If you did a cross section of this, you've got the foam insert and the heat pads on top of that foam insert. And then they wrap, they put that in the mold.
Right.
And they wrap this, of course, to keep the foam from attaching to it. And when they blow it, then all they got to do is put it with the pan and the cover up front. Our girl that connects all the heat wiring She'll just undo this bag, connect the plug,
Put it where it's supposed
pull
to
it
go.
through the pan. Yeah,
And then the upholstery.
yeah.
Wow. That's beautiful.
And this is that Aplex I was telling you about.
Yep.
Because what they'll do is they'll just take and they'll rip this off and it'll expose the other side.
Yeah,
Because this is
absolutely.
actually held in place by magnets.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man, who comes up with this technology? and this is the
That's the Pan America.
Harley Davidson. If you ride a Harley Davidson, they got you covered.
Okay, this is where I was telling you about the difference in the injection pans and the vacuum forms.
Gotcha.
These are all injection.
Uh-huh.
And if you look at something like this, okay, see, this doesn't have a straight up draft.
Yep.
And so the mold has to have a slide that comes out this way. So it's the more complex pans like these. Now this is an old one. Not sure what. FJR 1300.
Okay.
So
Yamaha.
then, there's no way we can vacuum form this, which is a lot less expensive.
Is that some sort of a...
It's just a storage compartment.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Figure if you got some space, might as well use it. You can put
Yeah,
your-
they can put documents in there, flashlight. Most of the ones with the compartments, we give a flashlight.
Oh, that's cool. Little manual. You can put
Yeah, and then let me see if I can find a vacuum formed one. Yeah, here's one. This is for the,
Oh, I see the difference.
this is for the Honda 700.
Okay.
But,
NC7.
yeah, so this all drafts straight up. So we don't have to put, and I ain't going to tell you how much we spend for those injection molds.
Yeah, I'll bet.
Something like this, we might be able to get the mold made for a few $1,000s.
Wow. Huh. So
And
makes it a lot easier.
plus we could build them here.
You do it in-house, so
Yep.
saves on time.
Yeah, because the molds for something simple like this is scabby.
Yeah. You got to think about recuperating that cost.
Yeah.
Considering everything.
Yeah. Well, and here's some that have already been pulled and trimmed, what I call pre-trimmed, because you got some down there that have been roughed out.
Sure.
And then they come back and they'll do a fine trim at the actual parting line where the foam will meet. And there's a little bit of extra work that goes into these because they got to pull them. They gotta drill all the holes. They gotta trim them. You know, there's some extra work that goes into these, but the cost savings between the molds and the labor on these compared to the mold and labor on those is a lot, because they still have to assemble the injection pans, and that's what he does over here. He gets an order. They pull down the blank pans. And then he'll put in on, this is Gazim, by the way. He's worked with us for quite a while.
Are you having fun?
Yes.
He used to be our foam man. I got pictures of him blowing foams from years ago. And then Jose, he does most of our vacuum form pans. He's also working on putting together one of our vacuum form molds.
So what's he doing there?
He's just putting rivets.
Rivets in.
They're rivet nuts, basically.
Gotcha.
So, and because that's a vacuum form pan, you want to let him get a close up of that. So that's just so that the hardware on the outside could be screwed in to it, because there's no way to put a molded nut in it.
Very cool.
And we want to allow the customer to be able to adjust the hardware.
Thank you, Jose.
And just to give you an idea, this is how we get our injection or our vacuum form molds in. And right now he's drilling vent holes so that we get that vacuum suck.
Yeah.
So this is actually for that Can-Am.
Wow.
So once he gets the holes all drilled in it, he's going to build a box with the 2x4s, and I'll show you up there what the finish looks like. I think you might already have some video on that. But there's a little bit of a process. We have to make sure that when this gets vacuum formed down, that all these areas sucks that material up against this edge.
Right.
So, and then, that'll be a whole sheet, and then they'll come in and rough trim it, and then they'll stack it up over in here. And then when they need to build some, they'll come in and fine trim it.
Right.
And then they'll drill any holes that they need. And actually, this one here, I'm not sure where the hardware goes because I didn't design this one. Kevin did.
In carpentry, they would call that the sanding department.
Yeah. Well, Jose does a lot of different stuff for us. He does some maintenance work and
Sounds like
helps with a lot of.
everybody we've talked to and the folks we've met and seen. It sounds like you have a really neat culture here. People coming back here that have worked there for years. People who are staying forever. There's not a high turnover because obviously you take care of your people.
Yeah, well, the whole work environment is we do what we're supposed to do, and we're trusted to do what we're supposed to do.
And you seem to enjoy what you do.
Yeah, I love what I do.
That's
you know, I like the industry. You know, being a motorcycle enthuse. You know, what better job can you have than work in the industry? So we got a bunch of great people that work hard. And they're very dedicated to their work, and everybody gets along. So, and we work together because, you know, sometimes I do some quality control. So sometimes I got to go to each of the departments and highlight some things. Without a good quality product going out, none of us have jobs, you know?
That's awesome.
All right, let's walk this way.
So this is the room that we saw from the other side out of this window.
In the hallway, yeah.
Oh, very cool.
And what we do is if we make one mold, it's a two-piece mold. If we make a high and a low, and some of them we have, or a regular and a low, if we have a high, regular, and low, we have one lid, which is the pan side.
Right.
But we have 2 to 3 bottoms.
Gotcha.
And each one will have either the low, the regular, or the high. But that way we just take the lid off of this one and move it to the low version, run a bunch of foams, and then we can move it to the high version, run a bunch of foams. See, this little shelf right here is the distance that's being held off the surface.
Gotcha.
And these little knobs, all they do is keep the weight of the foam from sucking it up to the surface.
Gotcha.
So even though we got these here, this is kind of insurance to keep that foam pad.
And these are the magnets?
Those are the magnets. What they'll do is they cut the strips, they'll sit it on there, and these magnets will hold it in place.
That's crazy.
And once they do that, then they pour the foam, and then you'll get that strip that you saw in that Pan America foam. And then the other half of the Velcro gets sewn on the cover. So once they get the foam, they just tear that off. They put the Velcro on there, and then they'll just press it in place, and then you'll get that nice cup
Contour.
shape.
That's great. Just brilliant.
Yeah, I think he starts running after afternoon. So
Okay.
actually, I think that one right there might be the newest one. This is I think this is the new scrambler.
Oh, very cool. So that shows you the 2 top and the bottom.
Yeah. This is for the Gen 2 scramblers.
So these forms are just waiting because he's not needing them right away. But if he needs when he comes out and gets
Well,
them.
we've got inventory for a lot of the stuff.
Okay.
And basically, they like to keep a certain amount of inventory up. So if he sees he's getting low on a certain inventory, they'll pull it and he'll say, okay, we sell, 30 of these a month, so blow 30 of them,
Gotcha.
And this is, that one that's down there that I told you that they're building the box for is going to end up looking like these.
Oh, gotcha.
Similar to these. Some of these are super old, some of them are not so old. Because we still sell classic product. Anything you see in the low 500s, those are mostly classic bikes.
Motorcycles, yeah.
They're over 10, 20 years old. But they put a sheet of this in here, clamps down, rolls up underneath there. There's 2 heating elements that heats the material to a certain temperature, and then it'll come over and suck down over top of it. Once it sits for a certain amount of time, he can pop it off, stacks them up, and then he could do a run basically the same way with the foams. If they sell a certain amount of them and they're down to a certain amount of them, it's just refilling inventory, and they'll vacuum form more of them to keep them handy.
Right. Gotcha.
This machine here is fairly new. I can't remember exactly when they bought it, but we had another one that was older that only had 1 station on it.
This has 2.
And like I said, the vacuum form machine, the foam room was actually over in Sargent Upholstery, but our vacuum form machine used to be in that other building room before this building was built. See, services, sorry about the boxes. Okay, we don't have any unbuilt, but here's a couple of molds right after they were built. When we send the molds out to be manufactured, the actual box itself, all we get is this.
Oh, okay.
Okay, and Kevin.
Then you have to put all the pieces on.
Kevin does that. Yeah, right now he's doing it. He's a pretty good welder, so he does all the assembly, puts the hinges on them, bolts them up, and does a clear paint on them to keep the rust down, and the latches and everything. So over here is where we do custom seat services. Now this is where they stage the seats, and sometimes we'll get, most of the time we get people who, if they send their OEM seats in to have their foam reshaped, because we don't make a seat specifically for that bike, which like your we're talking about.
Husqvarna.
And there's a couple of other ones like this one here. This particular set actually fits 2 different bikes of the same line, but 2 different model years. So we'll use the base product, and then we add to or subtract from that product to make it
For the other one.
for the other one.
Sure.
Yeah.
So if somebody wants their seat customized, send it to Mary.
Yeah, well, I'll send it to Sargent. Mary don't do custom work. That's Mark. Mary does a lot of stuff, but that ain't one of them.
No, you got to cut it off somewhere, don't you?
Yeah, well, quality control and tech support and CAD drafting and
You wear a lot of hats.
yeah. Well, everybody in here wears a lot of hats.
That's good.
Okay, once the seat gets put together, the parts get put together, it comes in like this right here. That's a heated foam and a pan.
Oh, gotcha.
Okay, then our tech over here will put the proper plug, because we do have a lot of OEM. So now we can do pretty much any BMW. We have Triumph. We have KTM. And now, for whatever reason, Ducati decided to go with this particular product right here, here.
Yeah.
So that's our latest addition. So we get the harnesses pre-built, and then they assemble the actual controller here. So it's going to be, that's all one kit you can buy for any motorcycle.
I'd never really even considered that. Of course, up until my Touareg, I'd never considered heated grips. But like you were saying with yours, they're
actually
pretty nice to have.
Yeah. This little station here is for the backrests. We have a bunch of different options for backrests. So anytime we get an order, they pick from whichever model, and they assemble and package here, and then it goes out the door from there.
Very cool.
Over here, gentlemen, is probably doing either a custom seat. You know, they rarely have to hand cut stuff.
Right, because you got that big machine up front.
Yeah, so if they do have to do a one-off custom seat, they'll just do it like this instead of cutting a whole table full of them.
That's cool. So, old school.
Yeah.
Got the shears out, going to town.
Well, we have, as you can see on this wall over here, we got paper patterns, and they go back from the original all the way from the original. And I've kind of been, as we have gotten new people in, the labeling of because I'm a parts label freak.
Yeah. So everything's got to have its
every single one of the whitest and down into some of the paper we don't use anymore. We use the thinner plastic because it's easier for me to digitize. But each pattern piece has its own part number.
Wow.
So there's no mistaking where that piece goes to.
Sure.
So, and if he needs to do a one-off for a custom seat in a custom material, he can go over there and pull that pattern off the wall and make it out of purple material or whatever, you know, because something we're not going to do a whole table of.
Sure. That takes some skill right there.
They're all good. They're all good at what they do.
Oh, amazing.
And here's some of the pre-assembled backrests, the component parts anyway. She does the final inspection, cleans up, looks for any details, make sure it looks pretty when it goes out. So if there's any overspray glue on it, she'll clean that off. She kind of looks for small details or maybe any defects, missing bumpers, that kind of thing.
Wow.
And then if there's missing staples.
And looking for wrinkles.
That's Miss Day, by the way.
Hi, Miss Day.
Wait for the camera. But she also pre-packages anything that needs to go with the seat, because sometimes we have accessory items that goes with the seat. She'll package it up, put it with the seat, and then once it's all assembled with the instructions and stuff, that's her job.
Wow.
And then she'll set it out there for the shipping agent to come over and package it, box it. When they do I was telling you about the down in the pan area where they assemble the pan and the foam together, the finished pan, the finished foam. They come up here, they put them on a shelf, and then they got a priority list. So they get their list. I'm not sure how their system works because I don't do that, but they've got a list of how many they need of what and what the priorities are. So they'll say, okay, we need this product first. So they'll go pull that product and install everything. Once they get everything installed and make sure everything's right, then it comes over to Miss Day on this table. And then Miss Day will clean the glue, make sure the cover's clean, make sure there's no nicks, tears, staples out of place, whatever. And then assemble it with whatever, like she puts a flashlight with it, that kind of thing. She does all the last little details that goes with that seat before it goes out the door. And then it'll go over to our shipping agent and he'll box it and everything.
So when we get our Sargent seat in the mail, it's not been put together by some robotic arm.
Nope.
It's custom inspected by Ms. Day. Well, I want to thank you. This has been an awesome tour. Tell everybody how they can reach you. I know you're welcoming visitors, so if you're riding down I-95 and want to stop in at Sargent Cycle, come on by. But how does everybody reach you?
We're located at 1036 Hubbard Street, Jacksonville, Florida. It's just about a half mile off of 95. So if you want to stop in, we've got a showroom. Visitors are welcome. If you want to contact me directly, you can go mary@sargentcycle.com. I do tech support and those kind of things, so I can help you out with any questions you got. I cannot help you with sales, but I can direct you to somebody who does.
I can attest to her responsiveness. You'll get a response right away. Customer service is fantastic. Thank you again for watching. We appreciate you, and thank you to Sargent for the fantastic tour. Thank you so much for everything.
You're welcome.
We can't wait to get on the road.
Yeah, there you go.